What's good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down when the next Fed speaker is about to be giving their speech and how this could affect the markets and what's going on with the market for tomorrow as we have something very big coming out. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. Now, this offer ends in just about 6 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. So, something very, very interesting is happening right now. The market is kind of like shuffling around, not really doing anything too crazy. And this is what I was telling you guys about in the morning. However, I just want to remind you all that we have one Fed speaker coming out for today for the remainder of the day. We have Jefferson from the Fed giving a speech at about 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and whatever he says could have somewhat of an effect on the markets. But I'm not expecting it to be too crazy. I just think that the market's just going to remain very sideways, very range bound until we close. And I think that the more significant move is going to be happening by tomorrow because we have something big happening that's going to be the bonds market opening. It's going to be the first time it opens after the war was announced. So we're going to see what the reaction is. As I told you guys before, the stock market tends to be bullish thanks to wars for the medium term and the longer term. Okay. Now, it's very unfortunate to think about war. It's very sad. It's very horrendous. But despite that, it's very important to have a good grasp about how it could affect the market and other factors. So that's the reason why I'm bringing this up. We're likely going to see crude oil just continue to uptrend as time goes on, make crazy moves. And this will end up affecting the US and our gas prices and things like that. But for now, I just want to mention that the bonds market is closed. This is just a big reminder, and it's going to be opening tomorrow. So we're going to see what the yields end up doing. This is going to have a big effect on the markets. They could end up making some big moves. So for the yields, my reminder to everyone is that as time goes on, we're going to likely see the 10-year end up dropping. We're going to see bonds end up cooling off. And we're going to maybe see the dollar cool off too, because I would say that the Fed could end up printing more money because of the war. And we could end up seeing the dollar cool off a bit. So with all of this going on, okay, I think there's a real possibility that the market could remain bullish going into like November, December, and etc. All right, I still hold that stance. My view has not changed on that. I still think the odds greatly favor that, so long as nothing like really bad happens, such as like a new pandemic or anything like completely unseen. But for now, okay, even though the market's holding that trend, the initial reactions are not always aligned with what's going to happen in the longer term. So I don't know what the yields in the bonds market is going to do tomorrow specifically. It could be very, very mixed. Who knows what's going to happen? So that's going to affect the markets. And that's why you need to be prepared for that for tomorrow. So, anyways, now let's talk about how SPY and all these different tickers are doing. SPY is doing quite well. I told you all that if we held above 428, expect to move to about 430 or very close to it, which is where we had this gap. That's what happened today, and now it's just trying to like cool off a little bit. I would say that if anything, it's just going to likely continue to shuffle, go back and forth and back and forth. Now, there's a possible head and shoulders that could be developing here, but like I said before, guys, it's not really that crazy. This market is just not making any like insane moves. These moves are like very slow, very, very minor, and this is what you'd expect when the bonds market is closed. So for support, you're going to be watching this 428.4 area as support at the 50 EMA. If it breaks below that, watch 428. It's about 427.72 as support. If that fails us, then watch the very, very low 427 area. I would say 427 right here is going to be key support. For resistance, you're going to be watching 429. If it gets above that, watch 429.4. And above that, 430 could be tested. But for now, it looks like the market is just kind of like trading sideways, not really doing much. We're testing this previous resistance here becoming support. So not a whole lot is going on. It might just continue to trade sideways. If anything, we could descend a little bit more, but like I said before, nothing too crazy should be happening. Just lots of range bound price action, but watch those levels just to be safe. If SPY breaks below 427, that's when you could turn a lot more bearish. That's when we could start sneaking to this like 426 to 425 area. To turn really bullish, you want to see it hold 430. As of right now, I don't really see that happening. I think it's just going to continue to trade sideways. For Tesla, it's very mixed because you have to remember there's a bullish and bearish case on Tesla. The bears are going to argue that, hey, Tesla has this giant head and shoulders. I actually have it right here, I believe. So we have this head and shoulders on Tesla. The bears will argue that this is going to play out. Tesla's going to sink and this and that. But the bulls are going to argue that, wait a minute, Tesla also happens to have this nice accumulation phase that could bring it a lot higher. And also, if you look at Tesla in a much more simple light, you will notice that every single time this thing hits this 250 area, or it's been doing this for the last like 4 days, it has a tendency of just like bouncing. You tend to see a lot of buyers stepping in. So even today, it hit 252. What did Tesla do? It ended up just getting bought right back up, still holding up quite decently. So with that said, I would say that Tesla is going to be very, very boring for the rest of the day and then see more volatility tomorrow. So we might just see it just remain in this range. However, just to remind everyone, if you want to be bullish on Tesla, like really bullish, we need to see this thing not just break above 256.5, but we need to get above 258. If we break 258, it's going to be pushing for 260 quite easily. Okay, so watch that very carefully, especially tomorrow. If Tesla ends up sinking below 254, we have support that could actually, it could actually come all the way down to like this 252 area again. So there's not like a whole lot of room for it. But if 252 breaks, we still have some very strong support at 250, which is where the buyers keep stepping in. If 250 breaks, that's when you turn bearish on Tesla. Okay, so remember that if 250 breaks, you turn bearish. If 258 breaks, if it breaks above that, that's going to be a very bullish signal for Tesla. What's it doing right now? The answer is it's trading sideways. Now, there's a possible kind of like accumulation here, possible inverse head and shoulders, but it looks like it's just kind of range bound instead. So watch support at 254.5 and then 254 flat. Don't forget below that we have the lower levels. Watch resistance right now, very close to this 255.5 area. Also at 255 technically, since we were just below that. And then 255.68 is a very tight resistance. And above that, we have 256. So like I said before, it's very much just range bound, going back and forth, not really doing a whole lot. So we'll see what Tesla does from here on out, but watch for a bigger move tomorrow. For Aapl, same thing as Tesla. I mean, we were talking about Aapl potentially filling this gap in the morning. That's what ended up playing out, right? We talked about Aapl having some potential upside potential, and we ended up filling the gap. I told you to watch 178 if we ended up doing that, and that's where Aapl ended up projecting. Now it's trying to hold its 20 EMA. So basically, watch 178 as resistance. If it breaks above this, watch 178.5. And we're going to be watching those as resistance levels for the day. As of right now, Apple's kind of shopping around. So it doesn't look like it's just going to break out super strongly. It might just continue to trade sideways. If Apple breaks below 177.4, watch it retest 177. If that breaks, watch support at 176.5 or the 200 EMA right down here. So those are some levels to watch for. As of right now, it looks like it's just trading sideways, not really doing much. So I expect it to just be range bound for the rest of the day, not really do too much until tomorrow when we see more volatility. For the QQQ, this is pretty much just doing the same thing, just trading sideways, not really doing too much. So you want to be watching this resistance at 364. If it breaks above that, 365 is a possibility. Above that, there's 366 and 368 above those levels. For support, watch 363.3, which is our 20 EMA, 362.9 or very close to 363, 362.5 or the 200 EMA below that. Then we have 362 and these lower levels. So, it's very tight, right? It's very tight, not really doing a whole lot. It is showing some strength thanks to Aapl, but overall, just not looking like too crazy. It's just continuing to trade sideways. So I just believe it's going to range trade very close to 364 for the rest of the day and just remain very stationary. So I believe that's what this is going to do. Not seeing too much craziness. The overall trend is a bit more bullish since we're making higher highs and higher lows. So, I mean, if it does break this high, it could get closer to like 365. But once again, guys, not really a crazy move. It just may, for the most part, just continue to chop around a bit. So not the most fun to trade. On Nvda, this thing is trying to recover, but watch this resistance very close to this 448 area. If it breaks 448.76, you could see 450. If it breaks below that, watch 447.43 as support. If it breaks below that, watch 446. If that fails us, watch 444, then 442. So it's kind of like trading sideways, rejecting off this 200 EMA. I would recommend just watching that very carefully. And there's going to be a much bigger move depending on what happens tomorrow. If the bonds market launches the market up, we could see Nvidia try to break 450. If it breaks, we could see it push to fill this gap towards 455. If we reject off our 200 EMA, we could end up cooling off and come right back down towards this lower level at 442. To turn really bearish, you want to see it break below 442, basically. To turn bullish, you want to see it break and hold above 450. As of right now, it's kind of like stuck between that range. It may just continue to be that way until we end up closing. So we'll see what happens tomorrow as we have some big things coming. We'll see what that causes. And until then, the market looks a lot more stationary, not really doing too much. So we're going to be also paying attention to the dollar tomorrow, see what the dollar does. It is testing resistance at the 5-minute 200 EMA. Not really doing a whole lot right now. We'll see what happens tomorrow. And with that said, have a great day, guys. Watch these levels very carefully, and we will see what happens with all these new reactions as time goes on. All right, so take care, everyone. As far as my situation goes, I'm doing very well right now. One of my uncles ended up passing away, but it's a part of life. Sometimes, it could be for the better when people are suffering. So I hope everyone takes care. I want the best for everyone. And I thank everyone so much for your thoughts and prayers. I respect it. And I really appreciate this entire community. Thank you. Have a great day and peace out.